tapestry of eerie parallels woven across the fabric of time. The Lincoln-Kennedy coincidences, a list of uncanny similarities between two fallen presidents, Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy, a pattern so improbable, so unsettling, it whispers of a conspiracy beyond human comprehension. Lincoln, elected to Congress in 1846, Kennedy, elected to Congress in 1946. A century separates their ascents, yet the echoes of fate resonate through time. Lincoln, elected president in 1860, Kennedy, elected president in 1960. Another century passes, the same eerie symmetry repeating itself. Both men, champions of civil rights, struck down by assassins' bullets, their lives cut short in their prime. The coincidences continue, each one more chilling than the last. Both presidents were succeeded by Southern Democrats named Johnson. Andrew Johnson, born in 1808, Lyndon B. Johnson, born in 1908. Both assassins, John Wilkes Booth and Lee Harvey Oswald, were known by their three names, both shot in the head from behind. Booth, born in 1839, Oswald, born in 1939. The echoes of fate grow louder, the pattern more insistent. Lincoln's secretary, Kennedy, warned him not to go to the theatre. Kennedy's secretary, Lincoln, warned him not to go to Dallas. Both warnings, tragically unheeded. Booth shot Lincoln in a theatre and was captured in a warehouse. Oswald shot Kennedy from a warehouse and was captured in a theatre. The symmetry, perfect, terrifying, whispers of a predetermined destiny. Is it mere coincidence? A random alignment of events? A statistical anomaly? Or does it hint at something darker? A hidden hand orchestrating the destinies of men? A chilling premonition? A prophecy fulfilled? A pattern etched in the fabric of time, waiting to be revealed? And then, the most unsettling detail of all, both Lincoln and Kennedy, they say, had premonitions of their own deaths, visions of a dark future that they could not escape. There's a dark and twisted tale that circulates online, one that is both bizarre and deeply unsettling. It's the story of the Hippo Eats Dwarf, an urban legend that tells of a circus performer, an acrobat or clown, depending on who tells it, who met a horrific end at the jaws of a hippopotamus. The legend goes that during a circus performance, the dwarf performer was meant to interact with the animals in a carefully choreographed act, entertaining the crowd with his bravery and skill. However, something went horribly wrong. As the dwarf entered the enclosure to face the massive hippopotamus, the animal, typically calm and trained, suddenly became agitated. In a horrifying moment of confusion and fear, the hippopotamus lunged forward, its massive jaws snapping shut around the small man. The crowd screamed, but it was too late. Witnesses claimed that the hippopotamus swallowed the performer whole, a grisly spectacle that left the audience in shock and terror. The circus tried to cover up the incident, but the gruesome nature of the death spread like wildfire, becoming an urban legend that still sends chills down the spine of anyone who hears it. Some versions of the tale suggest that the circus attempted to retrieve the body, but all they found was the empty, bloated carcass of the hippopotamus, the man's remains never to be recovered. Others claim that the performer's spirit haunts the circus grounds, lingering in the shadows, seeking vengeance or simply trying to make sense of his bizarre and brutal fate. is certain. The hippo eats dwarf legend is one that continues to terrify, reminding us of the chaos and horror that can unfold when the line between performer and beast is tragically crossed. In 1972, artist Bill Stoneham created a painting that would become infamous for its unsettling aura and terrifying legend. The Hands Resist Him depicts a young boy and a doll standing in front of a glass-panelled door, behind which dozens of disembodied hands are pressed against the glass, reaching, clawing, trying to break through. But it is not just the eerie image that haunts those who see it. It is the belief that the painting's characters are not as still as they seem. The legend surrounding the painting is chilling. Some claim that at night, when the lights go out and the house falls silent, the boy and the doll begin to move. The boy, with his vacant stare, steps forward from the painting, while the hands on the glass seem to writhe, as if alive. The doll, always watching, has been said to wander the room, creeping silently across the floor. Those unlucky enough to own the painting report strange occurrences. Items going missing, cold drafts, and the feeling of being watched when no one is there. But the true terror lies in the whispers that the boy and the doll sometimes leave the painting entirely. They step out of the canvas and into the world, taking on a life of their own, only to return before morning's light. No one knows where they go or what they do when they leave, but the horror is clear. The painting is not a simple image. It is a doorway, and the figures within it are not bound by the limits of the frame. Nestled in the shadowy woods of Connecticut lies Dudleytown, an abandoned settlement long deserted, yet shrouded in a legend so dark that locals dare not approach. Known as the Village of the Damned, Dudleytown is said to be cursed, a place where misfortune and madness consumed all who once called it home. Though the town has been reclaimed by nature, its eerie past haunts the trees, and whispers of its sinister history linger in the night air. The story begins with the Dudley family, who settled here in the 1700s. According to legend, they brought a curse with them, a curse that had followed them from England, steeped in betrayal and misfortune. Soon after they arrived, strange occurrences began. Crops failed, livestock vanished, and settlers faced strange, violent deaths. Many residents fell into madness, claiming to see dark figures lurking at the edge of the forest. Some even spoke of hearing whispers and laughter echoing in the stillness, voices from the shadows calling them into the woods. Dudleytown's decline was swift and brutal. By the 1800s, and stories of mysterious disappearances, tragic suicides, and madness that seemed to plague anyone who lingered too long. Locals believe the land itself is cursed, a dark energy woven into the soil, infecting all who come near. Today it is said that the spirits of those who perished in Dudleytown still roam the empty streets, forever trapped by the curse. Though the town is now off limits, curiosity seekers still attempt to visit, drawn by the sinister reputation of Dudleytown. Many who sneak onto the land report feeling an overwhelming sense of dread, hearing faint whispers or even seeing shadowy figures moving among the ruins. Some have left in terror, claiming they felt invisible hands pressing down on their shoulders, as if something were trying to pull them into the darkness. The warnings are clear. Stay away from Dudleytown, for the curse remains, waiting for those foolish enough to disturb the silence of the haunted ghost town. Those who venture there may find themselves trapped, ensnared by a darkness that has claimed many before, and will not hesitate to claim more. In the eerie silence of Bucksport Cemetery, Maine, stands a towering obelisk, a seemingly ordinary monument, yet one that bears a sinister mark. This is the memorial of Jonathan Buck, a man remembered not just for his life, but for the curse that darkens his legacy. Etched onto the stone like an ominous scar is the unmistakable shape of a woman's stocking-clad foot, or perhaps a boot, a symbol both strange and chilling. Legend whispers that Buck, a man of influence in his time, condemned a woman to death for witchcraft. Her screams filled the air as the flames rose, but before she was silenced, she cursed him with her dying breath. "I shall haunt you," she vowed, "and mark your grave as a sign of your cruelty." Townsfolk say Buck scoffed, dismissing her words as the ravings of a vengeful spirit. But as the years passed, the curse began to take form. After Buck's death, an obelisk was raised in his honour. Soon, whispers emerged that a strange mark had appeared, a single, ghostly footprint of a woman's stockinged foot, etched deeply and inexplicably into the stone. No tools could erase it. Attempts to scrub it away only seemed to deepen the impression, as if the spirit herself were renewing her claim. Visitors to the cemetery tell of an unsettling presence around Buck's grave. Some report feeling a chill creeping over them, or catching sight of a shadowy figure in the corner of their eye, an outline of a woman standing near the cursed obelisk, her gaze fixed coldly upon it. Local law insists that this ghostly figure is the woman Buck condemned, bound forever to the stone, her foot branded there as a mark of vengeance. Over the years, strange misfortunes have befallen those who mock the legend or touch the footprint in jest. A man who dared to trace the outline of the foot with his hand fell ill the next day, his fevered dreams haunted by the spectre of a woman's boot pressing down on his chest, as if crushing the breath from him. Others have reported feeling an inexplicable weight upon them, a pressure that lingers long after they've left the cemetery. The curse of Jonathan Buck's memorial endures, a ghostly reminder of a promise made in fire and fury. And so, the warning stands. Those who approach this cursed obelisk may find themselves marked by forces that lie beyond, trapped forever in the shadow of a vengeful spirit's wrath. On December 17, 1967, Australian Prime Minister Harold Holt vanished without a trace while swimming off the coast of Cheviot Beach. The official story was that Holt had tragically drowned, overcome by the powerful currents of the ocean. But the legend of his disappearance is far darker and more mysterious than any simple drowning. For years, whispers circulated that Holt's disappearance was no accident. Some claimed that the currents, though treacherous, were not strong enough to pull a skilled swimmer like Holt under. Others suggested a far more sinister explanation. One of the most chilling theories, one that still lingers in the minds of many, was that Holt had been taken by a Chinese submarine. The idea was that Holt, involved in covert dealings and possibly acting as a spy, had been captured and whisked away to an uncertain fate beneath the waves. Those who subscribe to this theory believe that Holt's disappearance was part of a grander conspiracy, a secret operation that went unnoticed by the world. They argue that his sudden vanishing was too well timed, too deliberate. Some even claim that he had been seen in China in the years following his supposed death. But the ocean is a vast, unforgiving place, and the truth of Harold Holt's disappearance remains elusive. For decades, the sea has kept its secrets, and the only certainty is that Holt, a man once at the helm of a nation, simply vanished. Some say his spirit still wanders the dark depths of Cheviot Beach, waiting for someone to uncover the truth, if it's even still possible to do so. James Dean's untimely death in 1955 left an eerie shadow over Hollywood, a legacy of rebellion and tragedy. But it was not just his passing that stirred the imaginations of millions. It was the dark legend surrounding his beloved Porsche 550 Spider, ominously nicknamed Little Bastard. The car, the very machine in which Dean met his end on a lonely California highway, would go on to become infamous in its own right, woven into a web of curses, accidents, and unexplained events that would haunt anyone who dared come near it. Dean, known for his fascination with speed, had poured his passion into the sleek silver Porsche, a car that felt like an extension of his own persona. Dangerous, alluring, and defiant. Friends warned him about the car, claiming it gave off a sinister aura, but Dean shrugged off their concerns. Some even said they'd had visions of his death behind its wheel. Yet, on September 30th, 1955, as Dean raced down Route 466, Little Bastard met its fate, colliding with another vehicle in a brutal accident that killed him instantly. But while Dean's life ended that day, the story of Little Bastard had only just begun. The wreckage of the car was carted off, twisted and mangled, a ghostly reminder of the tragedy. Yet, for some, the remnants held a dark allure. People began to scavenge parts from the Porsche, hoping to claim a piece of history. But they would soon realise that they had taken more than just a piece of metal. They had inherited a curse. The parts from Dean's Little Bastard seemed to carry with them a thirst for destruction, a dark legacy that brought disaster upon any who dared touch it. race with the engine, he lost control, careening off the track and meeting his death in a fiery crash. Another racer, who had taken the transmission from Dean's Porsche, suffered a near-identical fate, his vehicle flipping violently on a seemingly safe track. Both men perished, their deaths eerily mirroring Dean's own tragic end, as if the spirit of Little Bastard demanded more lives. Other parts of the car met equally chilling fates. 2 tyres taken from the Porsche blew out simultaneously, causing the driver's car to swerve off the road and overturn, leaving him gravely injured. Those who witnessed the crash claimed that the tyres had seemed perfectly fine beforehand, as if they'd been sabotaged by an unseen force. Another story tells of a physician who purchased the Porsche's blood-stained seats, hoping to restore them, only to find his home inexplicably caught in a blaze soon after, destroying not only the seats, but his life's belongings. The fire's cause was never determined. The twisted remains of Little Bastard were eventually purchased by car customizer George Barris, who intended to display it as a cautionary symbol. But even as a lifeless display, the Porsche continued its path of destruction. In one instance, it fell off its display stand and crushed a nearby bystander's legs. Another time, it slipped loose from its moorings while being transported and killed a truck driver in a horrific accident. It was as if the car itself resented being confined, lashing out at anyone who dared contain it. The final mystery came in 1960, when Little Bastard was in transit to a museum exhibit. Somewhere along the journey, the cursed wreck simply vanished. No one could account for its disappearance, and to this day, Little Bastard remains lost, its twisted metal and dark history dissolved into thin air. Rumours abound, with some believing the car escaped to fulfill its unholy mission, others saying it was buried to rid the world of its curse, and a few even speculating that it reappears now and then, hidden in a collector's vault, waiting to be unleashed once more. The tale of Little Bastard endures, an urban legend of fear and fascination. For those who hear it, there's an uneasy question. Could a machine be haunted, possessed by the spirit of its past? In the desolate hills of Bridgewater Corners, Vermont, a chilling legend whispers through the icy winds. The story of the Frozen Hill people, a tale as bleak as the winters that shroud the region. It begins on December 21st, 1887, a winter so cruel that it buried the hills under an unforgiving blanket of snow and ice, sealing off a poor family of hill farmers from the rest of the world. What happened in their isolated home during those endless frigid nights remains one of Vermont's darkest mysteries. The family, so impoverished they could barely afford to feed themselves, was known for their reclusive nature. They lived high in the hills, where even the hardiest dared not venture during winter's peak. As the snow piled higher, cutting them off completely, rumours spread in the nearby towns. Weeks passed with no sign of life from their cabin, no smoke curling from the chimney, no tracks in the snow. The silence was as suffocating as the frost. When the thaw finally came, a few brave townsfolk ventured to the cabin, fearing the worst. What they found chilled them to their very cores. The family's bodies were discovered, eerily preserved in the ice, frozen in unnatural positions. Their eyes, wide open, seemed to stare with an unsettling awareness, as if they had seen something horrific in their final moments. The mother sat upright in her chair, her hands clasped as if in prayer, her frozen face twisted in terror. The children were found huddled together in a corner, their mouths agape in silent screams. And the father, he was by the door, his hands bloodied, as if clawing at the wood in a desperate attempt to escape. But what truly horrified the townsfolk were the signs that something far darker had transpired. oppressive presence in the room, an icy chill that wasn't from the weather. The legend grew, with whispers that the family had summoned something during their isolation, something ancient, malevolent, and hungry. Others believed they had been cursed by the very hills they tried to conquer, the land itself reclaiming their lives as punishment. To this day, locals avoid the area, swearing that on cold, moonlit nights, the cabin reappears, its windows glowing faintly with a ghostly light. Hikers who stray too close have reported hearing faint voices carried on the wind, desperate prayers, frantic whispers, and chilling screams that seem to echo from the past. Some claim to have seen frozen figures staring from the shadows of the trees, their eyes unblinking, their faces frozen in eternal terror. The Frozen Hill people remain a haunting reminder of nature's merciless grip and the darkness that can creep into the minds of the isolated. Their story lingers, as cold and unyielding as the winters that claimed them, a warning to all who dare to tread too far into Vermont's frozen hills. Clinton Road, a desolate stretch of asphalt in the heart of New Jersey, is infamous for its eerie atmosphere and the legends that cling to it like a cold mist. One of the most chilling of these stories is the tale of the ghost boy who haunts the old bridge along the road, forever waiting in the dark for those brave or foolish enough to seek him out. The legend begins with a tragic tale of a young boy who died under mysterious circumstances many years ago. Some say he drowned in the murky waters beneath the bridge. Others whisper that he was a victim of an accident, but no one truly knows. What is certain, however, is that his spirit never left the bridge. Instead it lingered, bound to the spot by the horrors of his untimely death, waiting for those who might encounter him in the dead of night. The story goes that if you visit the bridge on a quiet, moonless night and throw a coin into the dark waters below, something strange will happen. At first, it might seem like nothing more than a silly superstition, but as the night stretches on, the air will begin to feel heavy, thick with an unnatural silence. The shadows around the bridge will grow deeper, and you may feel an unsettling chill on the back of your neck, as if you're being watched. Then, if you return to the spot after a time, you may find the coin you tossed into the water resting at your feet, returned to you as though by some unseen hand. At first, it's easy to dismiss this as coincidence. Perhaps the current brought it back, or it was there all along. But those who have returned again and again tell a different tale. The coin isn't just lying in the same spot, it's placed right in front of you, as if someone or something wants you to find it. But the most chilling part of the story is the boy, some say. In the moments before the coin is returned, they've seen him, standing just out of reach, a small, pale figure. His face is obscured in the darkness, but his eyes are unmistakable, empty, hollow, staring at you with an otherworldly intensity. He does not speak. He simply watches, waiting. And when you turn away, even for a second, the coin is there. Returned as if by magic, the boy's intentions remain unclear. Is he trying to communicate? Or is this some twisted game he plays with those who dare approach? No one knows, but one thing is certain. There is something deeply unsettling about the presence that haunts that bridge. Many claim that after encountering the ghost boy, they feel an overwhelming sense of unease, truly alone, no matter where they go. And so the legend of the Ghost Boy persists, drawing thrill seekers and curious souls to Clinton Road, where the line between life and death seems thinner than anywhere else. But for those who dare venture near the bridge, remember this: once you make contact with the boy, once you feel his eyes upon you, it may be too late to ever leave that haunted place behind, because some spirits never let go. In the heart of ancient folklore, there exists a creature born from the earth itself, a hulking figure of clay and stone, shaped by human hands, but driven by dark, unnatural forces. This creature is known as the Golem, and its legend has haunted the corners of Eastern Europe for centuries. The Golem is not a creature of grace. It is slow, lumbering, and awkward in its movements, a giant made of lifeless matter, animated only by the dark magic that gives it form. Its body is a rough, uneven mass of clay or rock, patched together with crude seams, and its face is blank, expressionless, an unfeeling mask devoid of humanity. Some say it was created to serve its master, a protector summoned from the earth itself to do his bidding. Others whisper that the Golem was born from desperation, created by a rabbi or wizard to avenge wrongs too terrible to bear. In modern Hebrew, the word Golem translates to cocoon, but it also carries darker meanings: fool, silly, or stupid. And indeed, the Golem is often described as lacking in intelligence, nothing more than a clumsy tool of destruction, incapable of independent thought or action. But this is where the terror begins, because while the Golem is a mindless servant, it is also a force of nature, a brute, unstoppable and powerful, with strength far beyond that of any human. Once unleashed, it will follow its master's commands without question, no matter how horrific. And yet, when those commands are left unclear or unrestrained, the creature can become a terror in its own right, wreaking havoc in its mindless pursuit of tasks it cannot understand. The Golem is said to be bound by a single, fragile command, the inscription of a word, often placed on a piece of parchment and placed inside its mouth. Without this word, the creature is a blank slate, mindless and deadly, its power unchecked. In the ancient stories, there were whispers of golems running amok, destroying villages, crushing anyone who crossed their path, all because their creators failed to control them. And so, the Golem is a warning, a tale of what happens when humanity meddles too far with the natural order, summoning forces they cannot control. Some say the Golem still walks the earth, waiting for a master to breathe life back into its stone heart. But be careful, if the Golem ever awakens again, it will not stop, no matter how clumsy or foolish its creators may have been. windswept shores of Cape Henlopen State Park, where the Atlantic whispers ancient secrets to the rugged cliffs, there prowls an eerie phenomenon known as the corpse light. To the untrained eye, it might appear a beacon of safety, a lighthouse guiding weary travellers home. But to those familiar with its cursed history, it is a harbinger of doom, a deceptive glow that leads only to despair and death. The legend of the corpse light began in the fog-laden nights of the 18th century, a time when smugglers and pirates frequented these waters, weaving through the treacherous shoals and hidden reefs. It is said that one fateful night, a band of smugglers, heavy with illicit cargo, spied a light gleaming through the dense fog. Believing it to be the lighthouse, they steered their vessel towards it, hearts light with relief. But as they drew closer, the light mysteriously vanished, leaving them to the merciless embrace of the rocks. The ship was shattered, swallowed by the hungry sea, and all hands were lost to the depths. From that night on, the corpse light appeared sporadically, always to unsuspecting sailors, its ghostly glow a false promise of safety. Tales spread of a spectral lantern held aloft by a shadowy figure clad in the tattered remnants of colonial garb, doomed to forever reenact his treachery. Some whispered that he was the spirit of a lighthouse keeper who had conspired with pirates, others that he was a wronged sailor, seeking vengeance against those who sailed these cursed waters. Local folklore insists that to see the corpse light is an omen of impending disaster. Fishermen refuse to set sail if the light is seen, and sailors mutter prayers when passing the cape after dusk. It's not just the beacon that terrifies them, but the sudden cold that seeps into the bones at its sighting, and the inexplicable malaise that descends upon the beholder. On stormy nights, when the thunder rolls and lightning illuminates the sea, the corpse light dances across the waves, elusive and taunting. Some brave souls have tried to follow it, to uncover its origins or end its spectral wanderings, yet none have succeeded, and many have not returned, their fates whispered in hushed tones in the local taverns. The corpse light remains one of the most chilling legends of Cape Henlopen, a reminder of the sea's dark power to enchant and ensnare. It continues to haunt the coastline, a phantom lighthouse that guides not to safe harbour, but to a watery grave, its mournful light a testament to the souls it has claimed. We dive into the unsettling tale of the colander lie detector, a strange and eerie urban legend. Settle in, relax, and let this mysterious story guide you gently into sleep. An eerie urban legend from the 1960s speaks of a chilling interrogation method used by police or army investigators. It began with a crude yet unsettling setup. A colander, typically used for straining pasta, repurposed into a nightmarish piece of equipment. The investigators would place this everyday kitchen item onto the head of a suspect, but its sinister transformation didn't end there. Wires connected the colander to a photocopier, creating the illusion of advanced technology. In a dimly lit interrogation room, the suspect would sit nervously as the investigators loomed over them, watching intently. The tension was palpable, the walls closing in as the suspect was bombarded with questions. The investigators' eyes would dart back and forth between the suspect and the machine, waiting for the first crack in their story. Each time the suspect answered, the photocopier would whir to life, spitting out a fresh sheet of paper. The sound of its mechanical churning filled the room, amplifying the sense of dread. If the answer was deemed acceptable, the machine remained silent, offering a brief respite. But if the investigators found the response suspicious or dishonest, the copier would hiss and clunk, printing suspects, already frazzled and scared, would crumble under the pressure of the so-called lie detector, convinced that the colander was exposing their every falsehood. They couldn't know that it was all a cruel trick. The investigators manipulated the machine, not through science or technology, but through psychological warfare. The power of suggestion turned the colander and photocopier into terrifying tools, blurring the line between reality and fiction. Some say the interrogators used this method for years, laughing behind closed doors at how easily their victims were broken by the sight of a kitchen utensil on their head. But as with any legend, the line between truth and myth is thin. Stories began to circulate of suspects who couldn't handle the pressure, of minds unravelling as they became trapped in a game where the stakes felt life or death. Whispers of the colander lie detector persist, and while it's easy to dismiss it as a bizarre tale from the past, one can't help but wonder if, somewhere in a dark corner of the world, the machine is still being used, waiting to catch its next victim in its web of fear and deception. On the eerie evening of September the 20th, 1965, in the quiet seaside town of Felixstowe, England, a terrifying event unfolded, one that would become known as the legend of the Felixstowe fire demon. Witnesses claimed to have seen something unnatural that night, an encounter so horrifying that it would haunt the town's memory for years to come. It began with strange lights in the sky. Around midnight, residents reported seeing glowing red and orange orbs floating above the coastline, moving with unnatural speed and precision. These lights were unlike any aircraft known at the time, pulsing with a fiery intensity that seemed almost alive. But it wasn't the lights that struck fear into the hearts of Felixstowe's residents. It was what came next. A young couple, drawn by the unusual lights, ventured closer to the shore. As they approached, a figure emerged from the darkness, illuminated by the fiery glow. They described it as a tall, humanoid being, yet something was horribly wrong. The creature's body seemed to shimmer with a heat wave-like distortion, as though it was surrounded by invisible flames. Its eyes were fiery embers, burning with a malevolent red glow that seemed to pierce straight into their souls. The couple stood frozen as the entity approached, its movements slow and deliberate, almost predatory. A faint crackling sound, like the hiss of burning coals, filled the air, and the air around them grew stiflingly hot. The creature stretched out a long, claw-like hand, and in that moment, the couple fled, overwhelmed by an overwhelming sense of dread. They ran through the darkened streets, their minds reeling from what they'd just encountered. Other townspeople reported feeling an inexplicable heat that night, even inside their homes, as if the fire demon had cast a spell of warmth across the entire town. Some claimed that the creature had left scorched footprints along the beach, deep impressions jarred into the sand that no waves could wash away. But by morning, there was no trace of the creature, only the lingering terror of its fiery gaze and the charred marks left in its wake. Local authorities dismissed the event, attributing the lights to atmospheric phenomena and the creature to the overactive imaginations of frightened witnesses. But those who saw the Felixstowe fire demon knew the truth. A being from another world, forged in fire, had stepped into their world, leaving a scar in Felixstowe's memory that would never fade. Today, the legend of the Felixstowe fire demon endures, a chilling reminder that some mysteries defy explanation. On stormy nights, when the sea crashes against the shore, residents sometimes claim to see a fiery glow flickering in the distance, as if the fire demon still haunts the coast, waiting to emerge from the shadows once again. Louisiana, in the swampy wilderness of Honey Island, there exists a creature so terrifying, so elusive, that few dare speak of it without a shiver. The locals call it the Honey Island Swamp Monster, a monstrous being that lurks within the murky waters and tangled thickets, hiding from the prying eyes of the world. The creature is said to resemble a massive, Sasquatch-like figure, tall and covered in thick, matted hair, its eyes glowing with an unnatural, menacing light. Its gait is described as lumbering, yet its movements are unnervingly fast when it chooses to reveal itself. Some say it has the scent of rot and decay, as if it's been stewing in the swamp's stagnant waters for centuries. Others speak of its deafening growl, a guttural noise that echoes through the dense trees and ripples the waters of the bayou. The first reports of the Honey Island Swamp Monster surfaced in the 1960s, when a pair of hunters ventured deep into the swamp and returned with a story that chilled the community to its core. They claimed to have seen the creature, a towering figure, covered in hair, with eyes that seemed to burn through the darkness. They also found strange, enormous footprints in the mud, too large and too misshapen to belong to any known animal. When they reported it to the local authorities, they were met with skepticism and ridicule. But as the years passed, more and more sightings began to trickle in. Fishermen, boaters, and hunters all claimed to have witnessed the creature or heard its unearthly howls at night. Some say the Honey Island Swamp Monster is a relic of a prehistoric past, a creature that has survived for centuries, hiding in the swamp's thick, unforgiving landscape. Others believe it is something more sinister, a guardian of the swamp, an ancient spirit who has claimed the land as its own. Whether it is a creature of flesh and blood or a supernatural being tied to the land itself, one thing is certain: the Honey Island Swamp Monster is real, and it waits in the shadows of the bayou, its glowing eyes watching, waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to wander too close. If you ever find yourself in the heart of Honey Island Swamp, beware. The swamp has its secrets, and they are not meant to be uncovered. Let's journey into the peaceful waters of the Pacific coast, where legends of Cadborosaurus, a mysterious sea serpent, drift in the waves. Relax and let the soothing tale unfold. Cadborosaurus, affectionately known as Caddy, is a legendary sea serpent that has captured the imagination of many along the Pacific coast of North America. Its name is derived from Cadboro Bay, a coastal area in Greater Victoria, British Columbia, where it has reportedly been spotted numerous times over the years. The legend of Caddy has become a staple of local folklore, with stories of its sightings stretching from Alaska to California, although British Columbia remains its most frequent haunt. Described as a massive, snake-like creature, Cadborosaurus is said to possess a long serpentine body, often estimated to be between 10 to 50 feet in length. Witnesses describe its head as horse-like, with large eyes, and sometimes small horns or fins protruding from the sides. The creature is also thought to have humps along its back, similar to the classic sea serpent imagery that has been passed down through various cultures around the world. These humps are often visible as it glides just beneath the surface of the water, leaving a distinct wake in its path. Caddy's elusive nature mystery surrounding it. There are countless accounts from sailors, fishermen, and beachgoers who claim to have seen the creature, yet no definitive physical evidence has ever been produced to confirm its existence. The creature is usually reported to move with great speed, effortlessly cutting through the water, making it difficult to capture or photograph. Some theories suggest that Caddy could be a type of prehistoric marine animal that has managed to survive in the deep, unexplored waters of the Pacific. Others believe it could be an undiscovered species of giant eel or a relative of the oarfish, a long, ribbon-like fish known for its impressive size. Throughout the years, various expeditions and searches have been launched to find Cadborosaurus, but none have succeeded in proving the creature's existence. In 1937, the legend gained even more traction when the carcass of a strange sea creature, believed by some to be Caddy, was found in the stomach of a sperm whale. The discovery sparked a flurry of media attention, but the remains were never properly examined, and skeptics argue that the body was likely that of a known marine species. Despite the lack of solid evidence, the legend of Cadborosaurus lives on, inspiring curiosity and wonder about what might still be lurking beneath the waves. Let's journey into the mysterious world of the Boo Hags, a spine-chilling urban legend from the Gullah culture. Relax, close your eyes, and let this eerie tale guide you into sleep. The legend of the Boo Hags originates from the Gullah culture, deeply rooted in the coastal regions of South Carolina and Georgia. These skinless, vampire-like witches are said to be evil souls who remain in the mortal world after death, seeking out the living to continue their existence. Unlike traditional vampires, Boo Hags don't drain their victims of blood. Instead, they feed off their breath, leaving their prey exhausted and lifeless. According to the legend, Boo Hags are born from wicked souls who fail to move on to the afterlife. Without their skin, they appear grotesque, raw, red, and sinewy, making it impossible for them to blend in with the living. To navigate the human world, Boo Hags steal the skin of their victims, slipping it on like a disguise. Once they've taken someone's skin, they go out into the night to ride. This is a term used to describe their haunting behaviour, where they visit the homes of unsuspecting victims and take control of their bodies while they sleep. The process begins when a Boo Hag silently enters a home, usually through cracks or open windows, as they are believed to be capable of squeezing through the smallest of spaces. Once inside, they sit on the chest of their sleeping target, feeding on their breath and life energy. As the Boo Hag drains its victim, the person will experience intense nightmares, leaving them physically weakened by morning. While the Boo Hag feeds, the victim is paralysed, unable to move or wake. By dawn, the witch leaves its victim, slipping away before anyone realises what happened. However, Boo Hags have a weakness. They must return the skin they've stolen before sunrise, or they will be exposed and destroyed by daylight. If caught without their skin, they are vulnerable and can be easily defeated. To protect themselves, people in Gullah communities often took precautions to ward off these sinister beings. One method involved placing a broom by the door or scattering rice on the floor, as Boo Hags are said to be compelled to count small objects. If a Boo Hag becomes distracted by counting, it won't have enough time to finish before the sun rises, forcing it to retreat to avoid being caught. Another common belief is that painting windowsills and doors blue, a colour thought to repel evil spirits, can keep Boo Hags from entering a home. The colour as haint blue, is a staple in many Gullah households, used to protect against a range of supernatural threats, including boo hags. Those unlucky enough to fall victim to a boo hag may wake up feeling completely drained, as if they've run a marathon in their sleep. The exhaustion is a telltale sign that a boo hag visited during the night. If a boo hag becomes particularly attached to a victim, they may return night after night, eventually leading to the victim's death through sheer exhaustion and depletion of life energy. The boo hag legend is a chilling reminder of the dangers lurking in the shadows of the night. It warns people to be cautious, vigilant, and to protect themselves against malevolent spirits that may be waiting to take their skin for a deadly ride. The story continues to be passed down through generations. In the dark, misty roads of Japan, there's a terrifying tale that haunts the streets, one that sends a shiver down the spine of anyone who dares drive at night. It is the legend of the headless rider, a ghostly figure of a motorcyclist, forever cursed to ride the roads without a head. The story begins with a tragic accident that occurred years ago. A young man speeding down a desolate road on his motorcycle was unaware of the danger ahead. In the dead of night, someone, no one knows who, had stretched piano wire across the road, the thin, almost invisible strands ready to catch the unsuspecting. The rider, unable to see the wire in time, crashed into it at full speed. The wire snapped tight, decapitating him instantly, his head flying off as his body crumpled to the ground. His motorcycle slid to a stop, the engine sputtering its final breath in the silence of the night. But death was not the end for this rider. As the legend goes, the rider's ghost now haunts the road where he perished, a headless figure speeding through the night on his motorcycle. The faint sound of revving engines fills the air as he approaches, and those who have encountered him report seeing a rider in a dark helmet and leather jacket, his hands gripping the handlebars with unnatural force. But when they get close enough, the rider's neck is eerily empty, no head to be found. The headless rider is said to seek vengeance on those who dare drive too fast or too recklessly, as he once did. Many have reported seeing him in their rear view mirrors, gaining speed until he's almost upon them, only for him to vanish just before impact. But some unlucky few have been followed, and on rare occasions they've felt the chilling brush of a headless figure passing by, a warning to never forget the deadly cost of speed. So, if you find yourself alone on a lonely, dark road in Japan and you hear the roar of a motorcycle behind you, be wary. The headless rider may be catching up to you, ready to claim another victim for his endless ride through the night. We journey into the misty woods of Bradley, where the sorrowful spirit of the Black Lady roams. Let her quiet footsteps guide you into a peaceful, restful sleep. The Black Lady of Bradley Woods is a haunting figure from English folklore, said to roam the dark and mysterious woods near the village of Bradley in Lincolnshire. This spectral presence has been a part of local legend for centuries, with many claiming to have caught glimpses of her wandering the woods, shrouded in sorrow and silence. Described as a tall, slender woman, dressed entirely in black, the Black Lady is most often seen wearing a long, flowing cloak with a hood that covers her face. Her appearance is sadness and grief, as if she is forever searching for something or someone lost. Her skin is pale, and her eyes, when visible, are filled with an eternal sorrow that seems to pierce through those who encounter her. According to the most well-known version of the legend, the Black Lady was once a young woman during the medieval period who lived happily with her husband, a soldier, and their newborn child in a cottage near the woods. However, her peaceful life was shattered when her husband was called away to fight in the wars. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, but he never returned. Then, one tragic night, a group of soldiers reportedly attacked the village, killing many and abducting the young woman's child. Devastated by the loss of her family, the young mother wandered the woods, searching endlessly for her child, until her grief consumed her, and she eventually perished. From that moment on, her restless spirit is said to have remained bound to the woods, eternally searching for her lost baby. Locals claim that the Black Lady appears most often on misty evenings, her figure emerging from the shadows of the trees. Some say she will ask passers-by if they have seen her child, while others report that she simply stares, lost in her grief, before vanishing back into the darkness. Over the years, the legend of the Black Lady has served as a cautionary tale for children, warning them to stay away from the woods after dark. While many are skeptical, there are still those who believe in her presence, and stories of sightings continue to circulate. Whether real or imagined, the Black Lady of Bradley Woods remains a symbol